vegan chefs. I'm Stefan, and this channel is dedicated to making you a better vegan cook. Today, we're gonna take the common can of diced tomatoes, turn it into the most irresistible spiced Moroccan tomato sauce you've ever tasted. We're gonna build a whole dish around it. So let's go. For the Moroccan spiced tomato sauce, we're gonna start with our aromatics. We're gonna dice half a red onion into a small medium dice. We're then gonna slice 4 cloves of garlic thinly. Place a large heavy pot over medium heat. Allow the pan to warm up before we add our 2 tablespoons of olive oil. Add the diced red onion, the sliced garlic to the hot olive oil. Season with 1 teaspoon of kosher salt. Stir to start sauteing the aromatics. Reduce the heat to medium-low. Continue to cook the onions and garlic for 5 minutes, stirring occasionally until the onions and the garlic start to become tender and slightly translucent. We're going to start adding our spices to the hot oil and the onions and the garlic. And then what is going to happen is the essential oils are going to release all of their perfume, and it's going to completely envelop the entire kitchen, and everybody's going to start peeking their head around looking, going, what in the heck is going on in the kitchen? It is smelling so good. The first spice we're going to add is 1 teaspoon of cardamom, half a teaspoon ground cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon curry powder, 1/8 teaspoon cayenne pepper. Our sauce base is still cooking on medium-low heat. We're going to cook for 3 minutes. This is just enough to really get those spices to release their perfume. We're toasting the spices, the cardamom, the cinnamon, the curry. It really helps bring out the essential oils in the spices. It builds a bigger flavor in the tomato sauce. It's actually a really important step that I think a lot of people overlook. They just dump it into tomatoes or like whatever they're doing. They dump it into coconut milk when they're making curry. But if you actually saute the curry powder first, you'll get a bigger flavor in your sauce. Like, subscribe if you're finding value, if you're enjoying the videos. If you actually want to see us cook something you're interested in, leave a comment, hit us up. Hey, a great way to support the videos if you're interested, and again, finding value, is through the program of Buy Us a Cup of Coffee. It helps us with groceries and all the things that it takes to make these videos, helping us become better vegan cooks. See you back in the video. Add 2 cans of diced fire roasted tomatoes. The cans are 14.5 ounces each. We're going to stir to combine all the ingredients thoroughly. We're going to reduce the heat to low, and we're going to cook for 30 to 45 minutes. To finish the sauce, we're going to add 1 cup of golden raisins. As you can see, the tomato sauce has reduced a decent amount, which is totally normal. It actually is great. It's going to build that flavor. It's going to make it bigger, and it's going to make it bolder. But we are going to take a little bit of water and thin it down just so that the sauce is not so thick and clumpy. We want it a little bit loose. So this is the perfect time. We're going to add the raisins. Boom, they're in. We're adding the water, adjusting the consistency, and we're going to turn off the sauce until it's time to plate. Amazing everything seasoned tofu wedges. That's right. It's time to make the wedges. We're going to start by cutting the tofu in half. We're then going to cut those halves in half to form 4 rectangles. We're then going to cut the rectangles into triangles, giving us 8 pieces in total. Line a baking sheet with parchment paper. Brush 1 tablespoon of sesame oil onto the parchment paper. Place 3 tablespoons of everything seasoning onto a plate. We're going to start by brushing the tofu with sesame oil. We're then going to take that side and press it firmly into the everything seasoning. Brush the other side with sesame oil. Flip the tofu, firmly press into the everything seasoning again. Then place the tofu wedges on our baking sheet. I just can't help myself in this situation. I have to go from doing one at a time to figuring out how to do more tofu at once. It's just in my nature. We're going to start by making a long row of the rectangles. We're then going to season all of the rectangles at once with the sesame oil. Just take the brush and do a sweep all the way down. Grab an entire rectangle, that's 2 triangles at once, press it firmly into the everything seasoning. Sesame oil on the unseasoned side of the tofu, flip it, press it firmly down into the everything seasoning. Separate the 2 triangles, placing them on the sheet pan, and bam, we are rolling right along. The tofu's ready to go in the oven. It's seasoned, it's on our baking sheet. We're gonna pop it in the oven, preheated to 375 for 30 minutes. We know it's done when the tofu is starting to become golden brown on the edges and giving us those little bits of crispy deliciousness. Who doesn't like long beans with ginger maple vinaigrette with just a pinch of heat in it? Well, we're gonna start with slicing our ginger on our mandolin, always making sure we're being safe with our fingertips. We want it to be thin, but not too thin. Once we have all of our slices, We're gonna stack them and we're gonna do a julienne cut next. After finishing the julienne cut of the ginger, we're gonna move on to our shallots. We're gonna continue to use our mandolin. We're gonna shave the shallots thinly, and I'm using 1 large shallot for this. Place 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 1 tablespoon of sesame oil to a pot that is on medium-high heat. Add the shaved shallots, add the julienne ginger, season with 1 teaspoon of kosher salt. You should start to see the oil and the shallots bubbling along the edges. We're gonna saute and stir and keep moving the shallots and the ginger together. We're looking for the shallots to start to become translucent and soft. We don't want to actually toast them to get any color. After cooking the shallots and ginger together for roughly 3 minutes, reduce the heat to low. Add a half a teaspoon of red chili flakes. Now it's time for the maple syrup. We're gonna add 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons, 3 tablespoons. That's right, 3 tablespoons. It really is the perfect amount of maple syrup. We're gonna counterbalance that with adding a tablespoon of black vinegar. Cook the ginger maple vinaigrette for roughly an additional minute over low heat. We're just looking to kind of bring it all together. Turn the vinaigrette off the heat and let it sit. We're gonna finish the green beans with the ginger maple vinaigrette at the last minute. It's time to blister our long beans. I love long beans. There's a wonderful texture to them that's just a little bit more chewy than a traditional green bean. Start by heating a heavy cast iron pan over high heat. We're then going to place the long beans in the pan with the pan completely dry. Arrange the long beans in the pan so that they're all facing the same direction. This allows the long bean to touch as much of the pan as possible, thus blistering and charring. Drizzle roughly a tablespoon of olive oil over the long beans. Swoosh them around the pan to coat the pan and the bean at the same time. Season the long beans with a half a teaspoon of kosher salt. Continue cooking the long beans on high until they start to char and blister, roughly 3 minutes. Flip the beans. Continue cooking for another 3 minutes until all sides are charred and blistered. At this point, the long beans should be charred and blistered and a little bit tender when you give it a bite. We're going to reduce the pan to low. We're gonna add our ginger maple vinaigrette to the pan. The pan will start to sizzle just a little bit. Really, we're looking to just warm the vinaigrette with the beans. So we're gonna stir it, incorporate it, make sure that ginger is evenly distributed throughout the dish. We're gonna turn off the heat, and now it's time to plate the dish. You guys already know this is the favorite part of cooking for me. We're gonna start by placing the beautiful spiced Moroccan tomato sauce on the plate first. We're then gonna place the long beans on top of that. We're gonna allow the long beans to organically kind of fold and fall where they may. It's gonna create its own beautiful pattern. Next, we're gonna place the everything seasoned tofu on top of the beans, and we're gonna kind of shingle them in a way that it looks kind of cool. And there you have it, spiced Moroccan tomato sauce with long beans blistered and charred, coated in a maple ginger vinaigrette, topped with everything seasoned tofu. Woohoo, what a dish. Hope you love it as much as I do. See you next week. Hey, welcome back to I was just really happy I caught that because I had to do a swoop. Woo, what's up? Welcome.